Father Khalid.
Is there a prohibition on wearing a ring on certain fingers?
Right. Bismillah. Is there a prohibition of wearing a ring on certain fingers? Yes. The hadith with regards to the index, as-sababa wallati taliha, in the middle. And in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet said that to Ali radiallahu anhu. So some scholars say that based off of that hadith, the ring of the man shouldn't be worn on those fingers. And some of them say from the wisdoms behind it, is it not to preoccupy you? Allahu A'lam. Obviously, wearing the ring on the pinky finger or the small finger, whatever word you wish to use or title you want to use, is the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that he had a ring on his smaller finger. The narrations differ on which hand. Some say left, some say right. I believe that both are optional. Let alone the fact that if it isn't prohibited, then it goes back to the asl, which is ibaha. It's lawful until proven unlawful. And the ring finger as well falls under that. Of course, we don't want to get deeper than that. There's long discussion with regards to the fingers of the hand and which each finger symbolizes or is interpreted to mean concerning the ring, let alone the nature of the ring. As far as the thumb, some scholars, I don't know of a hadith talking about a prohibition of a thumb, but some scholars say that it's something which is just unheard of or unknown, meaning to the Arabs. Obviously, certain cultures, people wore thumb rings, specifically the Turkic Mongol people, which helped them with regards to, so serve the purpose as well, right? So there's a long discussion concerning rings, just like any other type of zina, dyeing your hair. Can you dye your hair black? Do you have to use henna? Is it obligatory? Can you pluck gray hair? Is it lawful to specifically dye your gray hair? Ahkam zina, the rulings of beautification and adornment, let alone the materials, what rings you can and cannot have, and of course the aqidah pertaining to different types of stones, right? And was rejected in al-Islam. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Wa salam.
Is it permissible to pray any salah, fard or sunnah, with only the Surah Al-Fatiha?
Is it permissible to pray fard salah or any salah with just the Fatiha? Mm-hmm. Inshallah. Inshallah. Yes, inshallah. Tafadhal, Hamza.
If do you have any recommendations, let's say if you're walking or you're driving, what to listen for beginners to knowledge?
Recommendations on walking and driving, what to listen to? Quran. Quran. Play it, listen to it over and over again. Whether you listen to it in order, Fatiha to Nas, whether you're focusing on one surah, whether you have the app on repeat, a specific reciter, you can never ever get enough of the Quran. And the Quran is the foundation of all sciences. The stronger you are in Quran, the stronger you'll be in every other science. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah.
Naam Khalid. Fadl Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to advertise in the masjid, like your business or leave business cards?
Is it permissible to advertise in the masjid to leave business cards? For sure, it shouldn't be done. We can agree on that. Yaqinan. It being disliked, one can say confidently. It being haram, maybe. Okay, so those are three levels. For sure, it should not be done. Tarku awla, no doubt about that. Whether it's lawful or not, disliked or not. It being makruh, one can make a strong argument for that. Everybody may not agree. It being haram, one can make a strong argument for that. Maybe everyone may not agree on that. However, many people, wallahu alam, they have an issue with regards to the masjid and with regards to the announcement table or the announcement board of the masjid. And oftentimes in America or West, let alone in the Middle East too, or the Far East, the nature of the masjid is a little different. A lot of masjids are, homes, rehabilitated homes or storefronts. And when you come into the masjid, there's an area in which you take your shoes off. There's an area in which you go make wudu, you use the bathroom. None of that existed back then, let alone oftentimes overseas, the bathroom isn't inside the masjid at all. It's not under the same building. So therefore, if you place a card on the outside, on the wall, in this part, that's not necessarily the masjid. It's in the building, meet me at the masjid on the Van Wyck, but it's not the musalla, the place, the area that has its sacred rules. And of course, people, they argue and they differ on that. I don't believe that the front of the masjid or the back of the masjid that's not a part, that's away from the area, is the actual masjid. And the proof of that is you can wear shoes and no one will get angry with you. So on and so forth. But the musalla, the carpet, it's a different story. And if you want to get technical, that's a long argument on the carpet. Obviously, the Prophet's masjid didn't have a carpet. Many of the Salaf in their time, there was no such thing as a carpet in the masjid. This carpet that we sit on is like for a king, a Persian king, in a palace of Persia. This carpeting, this thick carpet. I saw the video. It was one of the most, supposedly the most beautiful masjid in the United States. And they were talking about what type of carpet it was and how thick and lush the carpet was. And no doubt, that's nice. But is the house of Allah supposed to be like that? Where you just feel it and it's so lush and plush, you just want to sleep and it's so beautiful. But is the house of Allah supposed to be decorated and fancy? Right? Is that guidance or misguidance? And that leads to the problem of praying in the masjid with shoes. You can't pray in the masjid, you can't implement the sunnah because of the comfort of the carpet. That's backwards. The thing that's not supposed to be in the masjid is in the masjid, so what you're supposed to be doing in the masjid, you what? You can't. You get how tangled our minds become? Allahumma musta'an. So at the end of the day, the masjid area, the prayer area for sure, people consider it different than this room, this hall, let alone inside of a school or a garage or a building in which this is just a musalla and so on and so forth. Buying and selling, advertising, inshallah, no problem. Wallahu alam. Wa yakum. Fadl Hamza. Do you have some? If the ayah. Fadl, Brian.
Yes. They have a lot of content coming out of, like classes, guided reads, like Shittar Hawaii, Maranif, yourself, all of this content that they've been putting out, that you guys have been putting out.
Next question.
Throughout the years.
You disqualified yourself.
No, where do you start?
You broke like 3 rules.
No, where do you start?
Aywa.
No, where do you
Hamza.
start? Where do you start with the study read?
Jazakallah khairan. Allah's name be praised.
I mean.
Tfadal. From Allah, Hamza. Tfadal.
Anwar Ali from London, UK. Tips/advice on being patient with the flaws of the Muslims and overlooking their mistakes.
I'm glad the question is from, you said London?
No.
I open up the atlas and see Great Britain.
Allahu Akbar.
At the end of the day, it's a self-explanatory answer. Be patient with the flaws of the Muslims. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be more patient with you. Be gentle with the Muslims. Perhaps Allah will be more gentle with you. Pardon the mistakes and the flaws of the Muslims. Perhaps Allah will pardon you for your countless flaws and mistakes. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials SS from Cartagena, Colombia. Sound like
Cartagena.
Whatever. Barakallahu Feek for sharing pieces of history with us. I really enjoy it. Are there any minor signs left before the day of judgment?
Jazakallah khairan, barakallah feek. Allah bless the Muslims of South America
Ameen.
and all of the disciples of Hadith in South America, Colombia, and beyond. Tayyib, Jazakallah khairan. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed the different pieces that we try to put in of history. We try. History is definitely one of our favorite things to study and to listen to and to watch. And every now and then we try to, share it. And of course, the history is always connected to the deen. The deen is connected to the history. They're inseparable. Sunnatullah. All right. Are there any minor signs of the last day that we haven't yet seen? Allah knows best. Allahu a'lam. I can't say that. Many people will see different signs and interpret them to be signs, but it may not necessarily be the sign that the Prophet was talking about. So for example, the consumption of khamr. No doubt, khamr is widely consumed. But was that the level that the Prophet was talking about? Allahu alam. He may have been talking about the level of consumption of khamr like water. Well, khamr is widely consumed, but to a large extent, in many people, many places in which there is no khamr. Okay, so we don't know, Allahu alam, the specific exactitude of this is a clear-cut sign of the last day that has come. And obviously time doesn't go what? Backwards. So if this sign has come, then we're only moving forward. So Allahu alam.
Next question. Initials MA from Hyderabad, India. Assalamu alaikum. When I pray, should I be certain that it's my last salah, or it might be my last salah?
Jazakallahu khairan, barakallahu fikum. Pray as if it's your last salah. If that hadith is sound or is weak, the proper understanding of that is to cherish the salah and take nothing for granted, like we do. There's no guarantee you'll pray again. There's no guarantee I'll pick up this cup and drink more tea again. So let me cherish it. So let me make this prayer with full khushu'. Let me make this prayer with the perfect wudu. Let me make this prayer. Let me try my best to focus, to concentrate, because perhaps this is my last prayer, but we don't know. You can never be certain of your last prayer. That's impossible. Let alone the fact that the hadith, if the hadith is sound, doesn't mean that you're supposed to say it out loud as the imams do. Pray as if this is your Salih Salat Muwaddi'. Hadith doesn't state that. So therefore, pray with the proper intention, with the concentration, with the khushu', and that's all you have to do. You don't have to focus on worry about anything else but fulfilling your obligations in this prayer. Done. End of discussion. Anything else will lead you to overthinking. And overthinking will lead you to waswasa. Wallahu alam.
Next question is from Dublin, Ireland. Initials DB. Assalamu alaikum mufti. Can I choose an Islamic name for myself, which I only intend to use among other Muslims? Would this be disrespectful to my parents who named me?
Barakallahu fiqh. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Shout out to all disciples in Ireland, as well as India, the previous questioner. I don't see anything wrong with you giving yourself an Islamic name. Nor do I consider it to be disrespectful to your parents. Whether you change your name on record or not, whether it's known to the Muslims, but they still call you Mike or Timmy or John or Nathaniel, whatever your name may be, I don't consider it to be disrespectful. And I think I'm a proponent of revert Muslims changing their names. I'm old school with that. I don't believe in you having this type of first name. I for sure change your first name. Change your last name. The fiqh of changing the last name, is it haram? We've discussed that many times before in the Lu'lu' Marjan Kitab al-Iman. Okay? And the different misunderstandings that many people have with regards to that hadith. Okay? He who attributes himself to other than his emancipators. Right? We're obviously not living in a time of formal slavery, nor are we living in a time of formal emancipation. A person has a last name that has nothing to do with someone who emancipated him. So I don't know about Ireland, but in the United States, for example, if my last name is Jennings or Johnson or Smith or Green, this person who with that name did not free me. Rather, Master Johnson, the Johnson plantation, didn't want to give me my freedom. But they lost the war and they were forced to relinquish their slaves. So that in itself is one example of the inconsistency between that hadith and our state in America. This person isn't my mawla. They didn't free me. Nor do I inherit from them. Nor do they. So you get the point. It's so many different lack of parallels showing that people don't have the proper fiqh of the hadith and of this issue. You cannot change your last name, but they change their first names. You cannot change it. All right, that's first and foremost. And then, of course, you have the people who say, well, I don't have to get an Arab name. I'm not Arab. I'm not Arabian. I'm Irish. I'm American. I'm a black American. I'm a white American. I'm Hispanic American, Latino American. I'm not an Arab. No one said that you had to be an Arab. Why are you so hostile towards Arabs? No one said you had to be an Arab. And anyone who does, saying that you have to be an Arab and everything, they don't know what they're talking about. They're ignorant of the deen. Anyone who says that and pushes that propaganda that you have to Arabize yourself with every single thing. Certain things, no question. Take it or leave it. It's the haqq. It's the haqq. All right? Certain things, you have to adopt their culture in certain things. And it's sunnah. It's a reward. It's your Islamic identity. But not everything. And even when you do have certain articles of clothing or certain practices, you always have your own twist and spin on it. In America, we wear thobe, but the sock game is what? It's different. People overseas, they're not wearing these types of socks. They're not wearing wallaby clogs. They're not wearing shell tops. Superstar, right? Scullies, what hacking that? So someone sees you, they see that you're a Muslim, but at the same time, they know that you're from New York. You're from Philly. They can clearly see your swag, your style, your get up, that you're urban. At least you're second generation American. Maybe your parents came from another country, but for sure you were born here. So many people, they have these different misunderstandings. If I change my name to an Arabic name, I'm going to lose my identity. I'm going to try to be like the Arabs. That's not true. Let alone the fact that Ismail, Abdurrahman, Umar, Abu Bakr, it's an Arab name, but what does that symbolize? Abu Bakr, Umar, one of our good brothers, good brother of mine, good friend of mine, alhamdulillah. We had a discussion one day. He was saying that, he's a supporter of not changing your name, especially to an Arabic name. And he gave an example of Omar. So he asked me the question, this is a good brother. We all know him. I ain't going to mention his name, But the truth is the truth. He thought he was getting somewhere in the fight. So he said, yeah, Sheikh. He said, what was Omar's name before he became a Muslim? When he was a pagan, what was his name? I said, Omar. He said, so this is the proof in Arabic. He's saying that Omar isn't a what? It's not an Islamic name. It's an Arabic name. I said, no problem, though. But what's the first thing you think about when you hear Umar? You think about kufr or Islam? Without a question. The Khalifa. You think about deen, strong faith. So it started off as being an Arabian or Arabic name, and no doubt it was Islamicized for sure, with consensus. Boubacar. He's come from Senegal, Guinea, or Ghana. His passport says Boubacar. The person stamping his passport, everybody knows he comes from a Muslim Islamic background. Abu Bakr, Mamadou. It's automatic. Muhammad. So it's not about Arab all the time, but it's about your identity. Everyone understand this? And with regards to the previous question from Ireland, this question from Ireland, the previous question with regards to the history lessons, right? We talking about Israel and Palestine, right? You ever ask yourself and wonder why so many different Israeli people, whether there's prime ministers, presidents, generals, how they have weird and odd names? You ever get to the naming system? You ever ask yourself, when this person is clearly from Russia, he's from Ukraine, he's from Poland, he's from Germany, he's from Morocco, he's from Yemen, why do they have these, type of Yitzgil, Yachik type of names? Where do these names come from? That's not a Polish name. There's no ski at the end, right? Right or wrong?
Yeah.
There is no witch or itch, Voskowitch at the end. There's none of that. Where do they get these names from? Read, don't take it from me. Never take it from me. I always say this. Read yourselves. On the mandatory, at times, I'm not saying it's the same now, but in the early days, it was mandatory for most people to change their names to Hebrew names with Hebrew meanings, Hebrew pronunciations. That way they would adopt the Israeli identity more. And it would legitimize their identity of Israeli, and Israel being a country, we have the birthright, instead of, I came from Poland and Russia. If a person has a ski at the end of their name, the first thing you're going to say is what? You came from Poland. What are you talking about? This is your land. This is not, what do you get out of here? But if he has the name Menachem Yitzvitz, then it's what? Oh, Hebrew, half Yiddish. You get it? It adds validity to their names. So you can read online on how there was a time, I don't know if this is now, I don't know, but there was a time in which it was mandatory for most people who migrated or second, they had to change their name. And the purpose of their name being changed If they had a ski at the end of their name, doesn't mean that they weren't Jewish. Doesn't mean they weren't Zionists. But they wanted to be Israeli identity. Everybody get the point that I'm trying to get to? Your name is very symbolic. Wallahu alam.
Next question is from Windsor, Canada. Initials HS. What is the ruling on working customer service for a hotel that serves alcohol? This job would include taking calls, helping reserve rooms, and the likes, but no actual contact with alcohol.
Understood. To keep things simple and brief, take the job. Of course, it's problematic, but all things are going to be problematic. Any type of call service is going to be somehow, some way, something haram going to be involved. You're a truck driver, you deliver gas. If you have a fabric, textile, let's say you make pillows and covers, you have a business. You're going to be selling to what? Hotels. In the hotels are going to be parties, people getting drunk, people making zina, people cheating on their husbands, cheating on their wives, etc. That's out of your control. Wallahu alam.
Next question is from no city. Oh, no, Chicago, Illinois. Initials RT. How long did it take you to be fluent in Arabic?
Practice makes perfect. Don't worry about time. Learn correctly, keep practicing. That's all you got to worry about. You got to be hungry, and you got to be willing to sacrifice. You can't be afraid of people making fun of you. You can't be afraid of people laughing at you. You can't be afraid of people being a naysayer or negative towards you. If you want it, Bismillah, put your trust in Allah, go get it. Practice makes perfect. Keep your mind off of the time. Don't worry about the time. You just keep studying correctly, though. Wallahu alam.
Next question is from Queens, New York. Initials MHG. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is the ruling on making dua by yourself after Salah?
Making dua by yourself after Salah, there's nothing wrong with that. The scholars have never differed on the ruling of making dua after Salah. Many people, they misunderstand things. But it's directly raising your hands after the taslim. There's no scholar that's going to say you can't pray to Allah after you pray, after you make Salah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bang. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with shaking your brother's hand after the Salah. You didn't say, yo, what's up, what's going on? Give you a dap. Versus, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's the problem. People making dua, the imam making dua, and the people say Ameen behind him. No scholar is against that. No scholar is different on that. But Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. That's the problem altogether, in unison. Systematically formalizing things is where the problem lies. But if you made the taslim, you made your adhkar, you recited Ayatul Kursi, you recited this, you recited that, and then you wanted to make dua, from the most virtuous things to do. However, last thing I'll mention is many people, they are unaware of one of the best times to make dua, and that is at the end of the tashahhud. So many Muslims, they're ignorant of that, of the sunnah of making dua towards the end of the tashahhud. They skip that, make the taslim, raise their hands. And thus is shaitan, and thus is bid'ah. It takes away the sunnah and replaces it with something bogus. And that is through the lack of knowledge and the lack of propagating that knowledge, and too many imams and scholars and teachers being silent and just going with the flow and not ridding the people of that cultural nonsense. Teaching them and educating them the deen, the sunnah. That which is no problem from your culture, tafaddal, do it. But here is clear guidance from the hadiths, in which you have to, once again, with the name thing, you have to relinquish your culture. Let alone if it's bid'ah. So many people, many of us, we just keep silent, we smile, we laugh, we take the paycheck, and we're not really teaching the people anything. And that's why the ignoramus has the nerve and the audacity to attack you for performing the sunnah. He's ignorant, beard shaven, pants beneath his ankles. He has the audacity to check you and to correct you, because he is, you know, there's no cat around. When a cat is, the mice play. So the ignorant people, they do all these types of things because no one is going to stand in their face and say, no, you will not talk over me. You will not. Bukhari Muslim. Tfaddal. What's your move? My Imam, Sunan Abi Dawud, authentic chain of narration. The Prophet ﷺ did this. Tfaddal, what you got? Knowledge has to stand in front of ignorance. Knowledge has to be dominant over ignorance. And knowledge must be accompanied by courage and bravery. And everything is not going to be friendly and hand kissing and hugging and mashallah. Some people are going to be uncomfortable with your dawah if you're truly calling to the authentic stuff. Somebody's going to dislike you. Someone's going to disagree with you. Wallahu a'lam.
Next question is from Jamaica Queens, initials SC. If someone, this is in the context of in the time of the Prophet, if someone met the Prophet as a kafir, then after the Prophet's death, they become Muslim. Are they a Sahaba since they met the Prophet?
They met him as, repeat the question please?
They met the Prophet as a kafir.
No, they're not a Sahabi. They must have met the Prophet as a believer and died upon Islam. The opposite of that would be someone who met the Prophet as a believer, left, went back, apostatized, went to kufr, and then made tawbah before he died. وَلَوْ تَخَلَّلَتْ بِهِ رِدَّةٌ فِي الْأَصَحِ. Alright? The scholars, they differ on that as well. Or someone who met the Prophet as a kafir once, then they met him a second time as a believer. But someone who met the Prophet as a non-Muslim and didn't see the Prophet again, even though they became Muslim again, would not be a Sahabi. Wallahu a'lam.
The next question is from Bloomington, Minnesota. Initials AK. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Do you recommend any Arabic textbooks for students learning the language? Are you familiar with the At-Takallam series? Is it good?
Barakallahu feekum. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm unfamiliar with that book or that series. I don't know. I'm sorry for my ignorance. I don't know. What books would I recommend? Before, a book is a teacher. A teacher is more important than a book. So you need to get a teacher, a mentor. And alhamdulillah, things are so easy nowadays. You can go online. From the comfort of your house, on your own cell phone, you can have a teacher. Right? And there are many, many different studios overseas, in America, Canada, with your online brothers and sisters that are teaching. And let the teacher give you his or her curriculum or book. Wallahu alam.
The next question is from Toronto, Canada. Initials YQ. How does rulings on following madhabs work? Can I follow what sound and more correct to what the Prophet did in situations? Can I pick and choose if I don't follow a particular madhab?
The question is regarding picking and choosing from different madhabs, which is known in two concepts. Listen carefully, the fa'idah. الconcept الأول التلفيق. الconcept الثاني الترخص يعني اتباع الهوى. تتبع الرخص. So the first concept is mixing or taking different things from different madhabs with a sincere intention. Not fatwa shopping. But I honestly believe in this issue, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah is right. And Imam Shafi'i doesn't have the strongest thing right here. I believe this here. But I'm not Hanafi. Whether I'm Shafi'i or not, but I'm not Hanafi. But in this issue, I agree with Imam Abu Hanifa. And in another issue, I feel confident in what Shafi'i said, even though Malik, Ahmed, Abu Hanifa said the opposite. Wahakada. But my intentions are sincere. I'm not just looking for the easiest, simplest thing. All right? And the second concept is a person who wishes to follow his desires, who's looking for easy, sweet, quick, Abu Hanifa said it. I know the hadith is totally batil. The Hanafis use a bogus hadith. It doesn't really make sense, but Abu Hanifa said it, so don't say nothing. You can't blame me. Malik said this, the Maliki said that. They have no proof, no dalil for this issue. This is an example. But Malik said it, so therefore I can wear this, I can do this. So there are two different issues. The first issue, according to the strongest opinion, wallahu alam, is permissible. A talfiq jaiz. And it's going to depend on which person is doing that. Obviously, you have to have some knowledge. All right? And the second is, of course, is haram, for sure. Okay? So there are different details with regards to the three levels of Islam: the mujtahid, the muttabi', and the muqallid. The independent jurist, the jurist that's in the middle. I'm not fully independent, nor am I a total beginner and blind follower. I can follow what the proofs and evidences and say this makes sense for sure and research this issue. Or there's certain issues I'm independent in. I have researched this issue myself. I've studied the issue of does a woman have to cover her hands and her face in front of other men? And I have concluded that the strongest view is what these scholars say. And then, of course, is the one who doesn't have no knowledge, no training, in which they go to their local mufti. Yeah, sheikh, is it lawful for me to eat at Burger King? BK, what? Have it your way, right? Yeah, is it lawful for me to have a chicken, what?
An impossible burger.
And that's what they call it? An impossible burger. Allahu Akbar. Is it lawful? The sheikh at the local masjid says, Yajuz. Jazakallah khairan, sheikh. You go to the drive-thru, I'll take an impossible burger and such and such and such. You get the point I'm trying to make? What's his proof? What do other scholars say? I don't know, nor do I.
Okay.
Okay, just give me the burger. I'm a layman. But if the proof and evidence is brought to you as a layman and you do understand it, it doesn't make sense, then you're going to fall into what? I don't understand it. So there are details. And of course, many people are extremists and they're zealots. How much I mean? And we've said this before, and alhamdulillah, we've said this for years. These different, not all, but many of these, most of these different madhabi guys, they're zealots. They're extremists. And they want to push their agenda. You have to follow a madhab, you have to follow my madhab, our madhab, and if you don't, you can't be a student of knowledge, you can't be a scholar. Anyone who gives a fuck, oh, you're a zahiri, they have their agenda. And then there are those on the other side of extremism who takes Bakr, Amr, Zayd, Tom, Dick, and Harry, Jim, Jane, Joseph, whatever, and just be an independent scholar. Make your own rulings. We can do whatever we want. It makes sense. I read this hadith in English. I read this in English. Ibn Kathir, so I'll make the rulings. Those are both extreme. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
The next question is from Columbus, Ohio. Initials MN. How do we?
Next question. You're trying to chess box me. That's Monar.
Yeah. No.
Fadal.
Next question is from Amsterdam, Holland. Initials AM. Sheikh, please explain the Asbab Nuzul, Surah Nas, wal Falaq. Also explain where the surah came down, Mecca or Medina, and why the Mus'haf says Mecki, since there is a hadith of Uqba.
Tayyib.
That's it.
Jazakallah khairan. This will be our last question that we take tonight. Asbab al-Nuzul with regards to Surah An-Nas and Surah Al-Falaq. Mecki, Madani, the Mus'haf says Mecki, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have to understand a few things with regards to Ulum al-Quran. First and foremost, Mecki, Madani, sometimes it's according to consensus. All scholars agree this is Mecki. All scholars agree this is Madani. And other times there is ikhtilaf. Is it Mecki or Madani? A third category, some scholars say a part of the surah is Mecki and a part is Madani. These verses, this verse is Madani, the rest is Mecki. A fourth important point of Ulum al-Quran is that a surah or verses can be sent down more than once. Everybody clear on this or not? It can be sent down what? More than once. We clear on that? So Surah An-Nas, Surah Al-Falaq. Okay, the question is, were these two surahs sent down when the Prophet ﷺ was placed under the sorcery and the witchcraft by his Jewish neighbors in Medina? All right, so that's interesting enough. All right, interesting by itself. What's important is, and subhanAllah, anti-Semitic, right? So what do you do when it's anti-Semitism for Arab and Jewish? Aren't the Arabs the Semites? So black on black crime, right? It's anti-Semitism what? Both ways now. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ being Arab, the Jewish people, were they Arab Jews? That's a discussion in itself. Is it a religion? Is it ethnicity, etc.? Where's the anti-Semitism there? If an Arab person says, I hate Jews, the Arab himself is a Semite. He's saying that he hates other Semites. Can you call it anti-Semitic? What's important is that the Prophet ﷺ was placed under the sihr. The story, obviously in Bukhari and others, totally authentic. Right? Now, the Prophet was given al-Falaq and-Nas. He was given al-Falaq and-Nas. That was the first time he was given those surahs revealed to him? or Allah Azza wa Jal gave him the cure and the remedy for that sihr at that time. And there is no, laysa hunak talazum, there's no, it's not a must that just because this was the cure, that it was the first time it was sent down. As we have explained that certain surahs, scholars say it was sent down what? More than once. So inshallah ta'ala, you can go back to that, read that hadith again, read what the scholars of tafsir say again, and perhaps with those 4 points, things will become clear to you by yourself. Let alone the fact that it's an established fact that al-nas and al-falaq are from Juz Amma. Tayyib. And the scholars of Islam, they generally say that all of Juz Amma is Mekki, with exceptions to a few surahs. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها, and some argue لم يكن الذين كفروا البينة, right? So when exactly was Al-Falaq and Nas, when exactly were they sent down? If they were sent down and when the Prophet was placed under sihr, then obviously that's in Medina. So the question is, why do some scholars, according to what he said, why do they say Mekki? And why are they not included in Medini surahs? Inshallah, you want to find your answer within those what? Everybody clear on this? Wallahu ta'ala alam wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.